Here's Matt and Blake with Your Music is Bad and You Should Feel Bad. Fuck you.
Absolutely. Here's what's going on with Megadeth. Their lead guitar player for the last few years has been Kiko Loureiro, formerly of power metal band Angra, Brazilian power metal band, probably one of the bigger power metal bands around and still going, still pretty decent. Like
Excellent band, releasing really good music right now.
Yeah.
Totally worthless.
We're gonna circle back to that too, because we did a whole a whole extended topic. But the main reason we're talking about it is because Kiko kind of took a leave of absence. Like he went home, I think, from the tour. And I don't know exactly why. Maybe it hasn't been public. It's something about personal reasons. And from some of the stuff Dave said, it sounded like he doesn't know either. Although the way he phrased it and the other things he said made me wonder if he really doesn't know, or if he just like glazed. Kiko's like, "Listen, Dave, I gotta go home because," and he was like, "Well, I don't know what's going on with Kiko, but I hope he's doing okay." And so Kiko went home, and the sub for the tour is this guy from Wintersun. The other
no Wintersun.
They're a like blackened power metal, I guess would be the way to describe it. Some people call them power metal, but there's black metal elements. Some people would say it's black metal, but then there's way too much power metal influence to straight up call it black metal, I think. So it's like, I haven't done like a deep dive in it, but from what I've heard, there's like one album. The main guy in the band, I think his name's Yari. They did this one album, Time 1, and it's one of these things where like Perfect Element Part 1, people are just waiting for Part 2. Guys, I got bad news for you.
There maybe was never going to be
one. Probably, or he probably thought there was, but now there's almost certainly not going to be because of all the pressure. And he did like he's put out other stuff since, but it's been sort of a diversion from it. And then there was a big scandal over him doing a big Kickstarter, which may have been for Time 2, and then installing a hot tub. So that's the rumor. The rumor is he like built a studio and installed a hot tub, and now
was it a hot tub and not a sauna? Because I'm assuming it's Finnish.
You're right. It might be a sauna. You are
and
probably
Finns
correct.
Have to have a sauna. It's very important. So people may have like overreacted. This might have been a strict necessity.
You're making a real strong case in
Finnish
Yari's
thing.
defense. It is, but like the fact is like he did this Kickstarter that was supposedly for an album, possibly for Time 2, and he like, "Thanks guys, I'm working on blah blah," and like it has not happened.
What if it was a sauna / studio? What if he had
I think it was a sauna
equipment,
in his studio or like adjacent to it. So
that's fine.
Maybe well, it'd be fine if he still had produced the album, but I think that's
any results.
The issue. I think the first
you
one
can have both, but you can't not have the other one.
It came out in 2012, Part 1, and I don't know.
Not recently.
No, that's the thing. It's been a while. Oh, and that's the thing. Most people are just like, "Listen, you're never getting that," but there's still like fans holding on to the dream.
September '87, you bastards.
Like, I know I'm looking it up because I won't be able to pronounce his name anyway. Teemu Mäntysaari or Mäntysaari. Like, I don't know how to pronounce Finnish.
Call him Teemu
properly.
Kotipelto?
No, different. And it's spelled differently. It's spelled Teemu instead. Oh, it might be
Teemu or double E's.
Double E's.
Oh, it's Teemu.
Is it Teemu? Oh, okay. Shit.
Teemu. Like Teemu Solani of hockey fame.
You're a little more familiar with the Finnish pronunciations. Oh, I remember that.
I watched a lot of hockey.
Okay. So Teemu, I'm not sure if Kiku like referred him, but somebody referred him, and he jumped on the tour, and he knows how to play all the songs, which is fine and expected. But the way Dave talks about it, it's like he doesn't think other people can play all the Megadeth songs, and he doesn't think other people can play Marty's solos. And it's like, maybe that was true in the 80s or early 90s, but like, it's been a long time. People can learn stuff. After a certain amount of time, it's not that impressive. There's probably a lot of people who could actually play that material. And most of the time when bands are hiring replacements, it's not so much they just need a guy who can play it. They want to feel comfortable on tour, so they want someone who's not just, sometimes they want a rando or a new person, but sometimes it's just like when Queensryche started getting subs after Chris DeGarmo, it was not about who was the best guitar player. It was like, here's our buddy, plays guitar, because we can hang with him on the road,
to
or
that,
Jeff can hang with him.
So I didn't pay attention to any of this. I didn't have any background on it. Doesn't really matter. But what struck me immediately about this, I'm sure it hit you. I'm sure it hits anyone who has any sense of what irony is.
Yeah.
Dave was unceremoniously replaced in Metallica. Dave is being an asshole about replacing a guitarist in his own band.
Yeah.
I don't think Dave has any self-awareness.
Oh, definitely not.
But I wonder if anyone in his sphere has the balls to tell him.
Probably not.
There's your problem.
So I have a strong suspicion. So Dave started making a lot of comments, or at least he made some comments, and then a lot of metal news sites kept posting them like one every day or two for like a week or so. Immediately after this guy joined the tour, again, it was like, it's so good. Everyone's so excited about him playing it. And at first it was just like, oh, he's doing great. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, good. But then it started to turn into like slight like side hands at Kiko. And it was like, we opened with Hangar 18 and Mechanics back to back, and we've never done that before. Because this guy grew up with metal. Kiko didn't, or some, like, I forget the way he described it, but he was just like, Kiko didn't grow up like soaked in metal, or some weird like analogy like that, which is insane because Kiko was in Angra at 19. You really think he wasn't playing metal before that? Like, that's just, and it's from Brazil. Like, there's a lot of metal in Brazil.
Probably more complex.
Oh yeah,
guitar parts. Probably higher technicality. Almost certainly, in fact.
Definitely than later Megadeth for sure. And they're probably influenced by Megadeth a lot. I mean, that's the thing. It was like absolutely false. And then, and I know that I knew Kiko knew Hangar 18 because I've seen him play it. And then a bunch of other people were like, yeah, no, we've seen him play Mechanics too. He's played both of those songs on tour with him. And here's some video of it on YouTube. You know, it's like, Dave, why are you lying? It's the future. We can just watch him on YouTube play it. That's insane. Time goes on, there's more posts, and it starts to be like we're really getting the impression that Kiko's not coming back regardless of why he left the tour. Honestly, my suspicion is simply that Dave can almost certainly pay this guy less because Kiko's been in the band a while. He's played on several albums. Everybody loves his contributions. But also that means he's well known. You know, he was already known in Angra before. This guy, Wintersun, I don't think is as big as Angra, and especially not recently.
I would assume not. I've never heard of them.
I think Dave found someone who can play the stuff for cheaper, and he's already got a long history of booting people from Megadeth. Like, I think he's booted David Ellefson several times. The most recent one due to his internet masturbation scandal.
Ooh.
But and again, that you can kind of, it's sort of justified because of the heat of that scandal. At the same time, it was like he didn't bat an eye. It was like, oh well, I guess David's got to go. Bye again. Because like,
I believe that was what do they call it? Everyone is the asshole here situation.
Yes, exactly.
Both people suck. So
everybody sucks.
Yep.
And so. Right. So Dave's definitely not self-aware, and now he can probably pay this guy less money. I started posting about like, well, maybe Kiko can go back to Angra because he was honestly, I mean, the new stuff's fine. So we listened. We wanted to compare some stuff because I said that Kiko should rejoin Angra. I don't know who his replacement was, but keep him. That's fine. Have 3 guitar players like Iron Maiden. They have enough like harmonies and stuff that I'm sure that they could make use of it. You just have one guy play the rhythm, 2 guys play harmonies. Rarely is that a good idea, but it worked in Iron Maiden, and it would, I think, work in Angra. And also Kiko's like one of the original guys. He was there in all the super early classic stuff.
Yes,
and
definitely.
My comment was like, oh, they should play all the early stuff, but that's just for me. That's not because I'm saying there's anything wrong with the later stuff. We decided to then, because of that, listen to some newer stuff, listen to the latest Angra, with Fabio Lione singing. We decided to compare it to Edu Falaschi's new
because I had
solo album.
mentioned that Edu also has new stuff out, and I thought, oh, why isn't Edu in Angra anymore? I hadn't been paying all that much attention, so I listened to it, and you listened to it, and we both had the same reaction.
Yeah,
Edu's real bad now.
So I read up on it a little because I was like, there must be some.
I did too.
Yeah. You were saying that like he had like some sort of like a acid reflux heartburn type situation.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Which is possible. He left Angra a while back, and I think in 2011 he said he was like retiring from singing because Angra had been so rough on his voice because he's really more of a baritone, and it was hard to sing the high stuff. And so after a while, right, it's like I understand if that's not your range, but you did join Angra, and did you not hear the guy who was in it before you?
He could do that.
And the early stuff
really well.
The early stuff Eddie was on, he sounded really good.
No, he did absolutely, yeah, no question.
And even did good on the high stuff. But you could tell live that it was a little tricky, but it was fine. And he sounded really good, and he sounded really great in his normal range. But he claimed that like he was so worn out from that it started to hurt his normal range too. So he was going to take like a significant time off from singing, and apparently he did. But now he's back. But apparently it didn't necessarily.
He doesn't even have a proper band now. He's just Edu. Okay.
Well, I mean, and I don't know who he got for his backup band, but they're pretty decent. Like honestly, I was.
Oh yeah, the band sounded good.
I was pleasantly surprised with the music. It still's kind of like Angra light, you know, but I don't blame him for that. And it's also maybe just as their Brazilian power metal. I guess it's going to be in the same lane. But I usually with those kind of situations, the singer's great, and then the band's like okay. But the band was actually pretty good, but Edu sounded rough.
Yep. And
a lot of people argued with me when I posted this, but they are wrong because it's not like it's not produced well and doesn't come out okay. Like if you're not like really listening for it or paying attention, but it kind of sounds like his voice is kind of weak. He doesn't have the same power. And like the mic and the compression and the production is doing a lot of the work. And so like it ends up being mixed okay, but it doesn't, like he used to sound real good and now he sounds less good. And it doesn't sound like he's got the same
maybe bad
power.
Maybe bad is how he sounds.
Much less. Yeah. It sounds rough. So that's unfortunate.
I mean, let's look at it this way. I don't want to give up on the guy. He had some good stuff back in the day, and we've seen in recent memory, and in fact, now, Rob Halford sounded really, really bad for a little while.
That's true. He had a rough spot.
And they released, what was it, Firepower, and he sounded great. And they have a new lyric video, I think, out as of a couple days ago. It's
I haven't checked it out.
Panic Attack or something. He sounds great. Rob sounds awesome. For as old as he is, it's incredible. I don't know where he went and how he came back, whatever he did. So now, because Rob did it, admittedly, he's the best goddamn metal vocalist, period.
Yeah.
But now I have to judge Jeff Tate and Edu Falaschi, et cetera, that much harder. But I also can have hope that maybe they'll come back and be awesome again.
Well, at least
double-edged sword.
At least Jeff Tate, he just doesn't like bother with the high stuff anymore. But he does still sound good, like in the rest of his range, from what I've heard. I haven't seen him live in a while, but clips I've heard, like
that's not what made him the Tate.
Right. He had the same sort of. Although it's, I think, far less true for Jeff, he kind of had said the same thing Edu, which is like, I never really liked singing that high, which is a lie.
Right.
You put on Live in Tokyo, and you're like, you sang high parts when you didn't have to, that aren't on the album. You were just like just
because,
living it up
for funny,
at the top of your range, and while dancing around in the white leather jacket, great stuff.
The one. Yep.
And it is possible that he still has some of the range, but it probably would take effort and practice and like. But like I think
those things.
I think it's a good chance that Rob just was like taking care of himself and like I'm gonna get in shape because that's kind of how it works sometimes. And if you haven't if you don't have like real damage to your vocal cords, you can usually get things working again. And that's also a possibility that Edu's thing could partially be that while he took all that time off, maybe he didn't take long enough to like prepare when he was coming back. It's hard to say.
Maybe it's just enough damage that there's no coming back, and that's a bummer. You know, if that is in fact what happened. But
that's also possible.
Like, give us this. Oh, I don't like singing high. That's why I'm not saying. The horse shit.
Yeah.
You sing high. You're in a power metal band. You have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, he said that like even I think even before, either like right when he left Angra or around that time, because I remember just being like, maybe even like the last Angra album, like, listen, man, I didn't even want to sing high. I'm like, well,
yeah, sure.
too bad you joined the high singing band.
I'm taking
like,
my ball and going home. I don't even like get out of here.
I listened to Omni, which is the 2018. I think they have another one coming, but the last Fabio Angra album.
Okay.
And the thing about Fabio is he is doesn't like I hate when people say someone isn't human, you know, like this man not human, he's amazing. But the thing about Fabio is he might not be human because he has pretty much not lost a step over all these fucking years. And I've seen him live.
What is he?
I mean,
look that old.
Well, that's probably he's a Highlander. I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point he is a Highlander because he doesn't look that old. I mean, he's not super old. He's born in 73. He's 50. He's 50. That's not that old. His vocals though, like I saw him both with Angra and with the Luca Turilli, Lione,
the Rhapsody
Turilli,
thing.
Right. Like the two guys you want to see from Rhapsody doing their version of Rhapsody, which is like the third iteration of Rhapsody. But I saw both of those. Fabio was fantastic. And I was listening to Omni again, the last Angra album with him, and thinking the same thing, and just like, man, like I even like him a little better with Angra. He kind of dials down his vibrato because one of the things that like I always used to thought he was fine, but I wasn't like the biggest fan. But I also never listened to Rhapsody that much
for reasons.
Yeah, and so, but one of the things that I would nitpick or bug me about him in Rhapsody is he would do this really wide vibrato that almost goes out of tune because he's an opera guy, he's very operatically trained, and he does that a lot. But
which I'm sure has something to do with longevity of his voice because if he's operatically trained, he probably has some idea how to actually take care of his voice.
He's got to have really good technique. But even opera singers they wear out sometimes if they
hopefully not by 50.
Well, that's the thing though. Some opera singers are known for like opera. If you're a really young, successful opera singer, a lot of them they work so hard, they do so much that they wear their voices out. Like some opera singers have very short careers, the top of their game, and then they gotta stop because it'll destroy their voice if they're not careful.
Is that a specific range of opera singers, or is that
I don't know.
Opera singers across the
I do not know exactly if it's specific range. I would have to look into that more. It's just something I've heard a lot.
From like all the higher range of things, it wouldn't shock me as much.
Possibly, yeah. It might just be like sopranos and tenors or something. I don't really know. I'd have to do more research. But
good enough.
The other crazy thing about Fabio, which makes him seem like a Highlander,
is all the beheadings.
Right. Well, he looks like he could be a Highlander. Like he's got the hair. He's got like if he suddenly took out a sword. Well, they pose with swords on all those fucking Rhapsody albums. It's but they were pioneers in the like sword posing. That's true. But like all of them with swords, like
all of them.
But the other thing is that I only found this out from Prague Power. Fabio smokes. He smokes cigarettes. And he drinks a lot of wine, and he drinks wine during the show. So he's like the most Italian metal singer ever because he's like smoking and drinking a bottle of red wine and like then going out there and it's like, what the fuck? That should not work. Like, do not copy Fabio in terms, if you want to be a singer, you want to be a professional singer, do not copy Fabio in your behavior because for most singers that does not work, including arguably Jeff Tate. I think I heard maybe at some point he smoked. I don't know if he still does, but he does drink. He sells wine. He makes wine. He loves wine. He's talked about how much he loves wine.
Sure, yeah.
So I was like, look, it didn't work.
A lot
for
of
Jeff
wino singers on the extreme strong singer like Maynard. Maynard makes his own wine. That was the whole thing. Then you had David Coverdale was maybe liquor, but again, not everyone is David Coverdale. In fact, there's one
that's
David
true.
Coverdale.
I was reminded of Jeff Tate's wine because there is a song on the Angra album Omni called Insania, which is the name of Jeff Tate's wine. So I was like, oh, it was nice of them to write a song about Jeff Tate's
big
wine.
Plug. Yeah,
right?
There you go.
And I looked it up because I always had this idea that I never pulled the trigger on because it would cost a bunch of money to do like YouTube reviews of musician branded alcohol. There's two big problems. One is the price tag because I think like Dream Theater and Metallica both have whiskeys that are like real expensive, or maybe
I didn't think
just
Metallica was that outrageous. I
maybe
don't remember.
Metallica's wasn't. Dream Theater's
one.
was. They had like a limited batch something or other. It was like $200 a bottle. I was like, fuck that.
No, I think Metallica's
$200
was like 50
I'd
or
buy
60.
Blue Label. Yeah. Metallica's was a little more in the range, but I think it was more Metallica was like, it's called Blackened. I was like, that doesn't sound good, but whatever.
Well, no, this was the whiskey that they stuck it in barrels and then they blasted Metallica at it. That was literally what their whole selling point was. We're shaking up the barrels, and that's making the liquor and the wood do things. And
sure, I'm sure that.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Or no.
The other big problem is that a lot of them over the years, not all of them, but a lot of them have been very limited run. Like Unibrew did that A Tout Le Monde Megadeth beer.
I had that. It was
which I've heard, but it's not always available. I think it might have come back at some point, but like it's just not. A lot of them are just limited, and they don't. Depending on the band, they just don't always.
Unibrew, they have a
that's true
limited run of a lot of things. And they're all a little similar for my taste.
So some of them have just been hard to get, and then it's like if you can get
some
it,
of them just suck.
It's
like
online.
the Iron Maiden one, I think is just like a
Well, I don't care if they suck though. That's the point. Is I'm not like really a great drink connoisseur anyways. The point is I'm just going to sit there with the drink and like talk shit about the band or whatever and just like try to describe it in a way that makes jokes about the band. Like it's not going to be like I'll try to review the liquor, but I'm not really like so discerning unless you want to like partner up and do a remote and you can have the real like here's why this is good or bad, and I'll be like
this is doable. I could hunt up quite a few of these still. I didn't know about the Dream Theater one, or I might have snagged some.
Well, it was like $200 a bottle. It. I mean, it might be
good. Only money. I'm an asshole. Fuck.
The Jeff Tate's wine, which I was like starting to think about again, isn't as great. It's like $36 a bottle. There's a red and a white. I mean, whatever. It's they also sell a Operation Mindcrime corkscrew. This is a missed opportunity because it should have been Operation Wine Crime. Obviously, also like his wines, they're made in Germany, like so it's not just like we called up someone in Napa and had them slap our name on it kind of thing.
A Riesling or a Gewürztraminer or
no, it was just Pinots. It was like a Pinot Noir and a Pinot Grigio.
That's French. Why make it in Germany?
It's the type of grape. I mean,
no, I'm aware.
There's some other, but there's some other thing about he has German heritage, and so
we should have made a Riesling or a Gewürztraminer.
I agree. I like a Riesling. But
have you ever had a Gewürztraminer?
I don't think so.
White wine.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I would try it.
There you go.
So yeah, maybe we should do that because I would definitely be down. Like sooner or later, like maybe just like whenever we can get our hands on something. I just think it'd be
get a list going. I'll do a little looking. Remind me.
We'll see what's still around, still available. Like we could get fucking Trooper or whatever.
Big who cares?
But... Yeah, exactly. And everyone's like had it too. It's not like it's But I think it'd be funny.
You and I haven't drawn a drunk show. Done a drunk show. Holy shit, I can't talk. Maybe I am drunk.
True. We talked about doing it for Fellowship, but we didn't really.
Yeah, it would have ruined a good drunk. It wouldn't have. That would have been. That's a waste.
True. It would have been a bummer.
Hateful, awful band. I hate them so much.
Yeah, not
how I really feel.
Hey, listen. Look, like I listened to stuff like this Angra album, and I was like, "This is good power metal." It doesn't leave much room to actually be convinced something like Fellowship is good, especially when you're trying to compare them to Rhapsody. And then if you go listen to actual Rhapsody, you're going to be like, "What are you talking about? No, this is ridiculous."
Pretty inexcusable. The whole 5 out of 5.
Even Dragon Force, who I do not care for, I think are very overrated. You compare it, and you're like, they at least have always had like a competent singer. Or at least...
they like did a thing. They had a thing in the scene at a time. We were really fast.
Yes.
We
very
sound
fast,
like silly video games.
And occasionally sound like video games. Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. But that was their sound. It was a thing. They were playing as fast as they goddamn could. And that was what a lot of people were looking for out of power metal at the time. They were distinct. They had a reason to be there. These other guys didn't. Their only distinct attribute was that they were unrelentingly sappy and bad.
Positivity, right? I think their actual gimmick is we accept ourselves even though our band is very mediocre.
we accept our mediocrity. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and That's we all know.
The
No
Stuart Smalley, is that what?
That's
Stuart's?
Well, no,
Stuart's-
wait, no.
No.
Al Franken.
Yeah, but what's the character?
It's been a long time.
Yes, Stuart Smalley. Yes,
Okay.
good enough.
I was doing the impression, and I did not remember the
Yes.
character. That's
Which for a second I just pulled that out of my brain, and it could have easily been wrong. Daily Affirmations with Stuart Smalley. Yeah, they're the Stuart Smalley of power metal bands. Now we know the new wave of nice metal buds, so they're definitely nice metal buds.
That's enough about them. I hate them. They suck.
No more Fellowship. We're not talking about them anymore. So I hope Kiko. I know Kiko has some solo albums. I never really checked him out, but either start or join another cool band, or he would probably contribute more than in Megadeth. I know he contributed some, which I think is part of why the last few albums have been even a little better than the other Dave's not experimenting anymore albums. The worst thing he did was when he did like Risk and then tried to like experiment, and then he kind of, like most people at that stage, realizes it'll sell better if he just kind of goes back, sticks to the normal thing. He did a song, like another Sweating Bullets song called Dread and the Fugitive Mind, but you listen to it and you're like, oh, this is like Sweating Bullets 2, sweating more bullets. It's like how, like how Metallica did Unforgiven 2, but he couldn't think of like a sweatier bullets pun or something, so he's like, I don't know, man, Dread and the fucking Fugitive Mind, whatever.
Sweating Bullets 2, even sweatier.
Right? Somebody was joking like, oh, Metallica has to do Unforgiven 3, and it's like
The Unforgivenist.
Have it be like The Unforgiven 3, like, because it's already like a Western kind of song, like it's about three guys who are unforgiven or something. I don't know. It's not as good as Unforgiven 2.
I almost think these are better when you acknowledge that it's a sequel, because you're not lying. You're not like, oh, we wrote a new song, and no, you didn't.
I agree.
You're telling us you wrote the same song again.
You wrote a song.
You wrote a very.
Look, it's legally distinct, but it's so similar of a style of song that you're like, we had more
to say. That's what it is. It's maybe
probably would have actually come up, like you said. It probably would actually come off better if you flat out called it a sequel in some way. Dread and the Fugitive Mind (parentheses Sweating Bullets 2), or like Still Sweating Bullets, or Still Sweaty from all those bullets. I don't
My
know.
deodorant is not holding up to all this sweat.
That's what the dread is from.
Because of the pit stains. Ring around the collar.
I don't know. I hope Kiko. I think Kiko just go back to Angra. Like, there's no sweat off that. I don't know who that other guy is, and I know it's like kind of mainly Raphael's band, Raphael Bittencourt. I don't see why not. And I don't.
I'm for it. I support
somebody was
it.
like, "Oh, don't derail." It's not gonna fucking derail them. They're not actually gonna take my suggestion and only play early albums with him. And actually, I don't even want them to now because I listened to that Fabio album. I was like, "This is fucking good." So
yeah.
Omni, which I listened to recently, it was very good. The only nitpick, the only thing I would hold against Omni is that the last track is like the programmed orchestra track, and maybe it's not, maybe it's real, or like at least partially real, I don't know, but it's like the the symphonic whatever, it's the last track, and it's like 5 minutes long, and the one before it is Omni Infinite Nothing. The track before it is Omni Silence Inside, which is more of a 8-minute real track. I think they should have flipped those. You have the symphonic, maybe cut a couple minutes, have it be like, I mean, even that's long, but like 5 minutes is real long for instrumental.
We did not meet contractually obligated album length, so we programmed this. This is a minimal effort. Finish out the album. We're tired.
Because then I was like, oh, what's the next track? I'm like, oh, that was the end. So I still would have put,
it should have been lead up to something.
Lead up to
I will have to
big
listen
end
to
track.
it again. I don't recall offhand.
But I only listened to the whole album through once, so But the end of the thing, everything else was pretty solid. Some really good stuff. There was a cool like Spanish classical guitar type thing,
which is pretty signature Angra kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Absolutely,
I like that about them.
Yep.
So it's good
flamenco.
stuff. So Angra is very good still. The other thing I noticed was they have several guest singers, Sandy Lima and Alyssa White Glues on Black Widow's Web, because I heard the Death vocals and I was like, who is that? And then like Spotify doesn't have any of the guest singers listed, and then Kiko played a solo on Warhorns, so like they're still obviously buddy with Kiko. Just fucking bring him back in the band, bring him back in.
Yep, I agree. I support it.
That'd be cool.
Better to have him back in the band than pull a KK's Priest situation.
Definitely. Oh my god, that's
It's gonna be Kiko's Angra is gonna go call up Edu, and they're gonna do cast-offs.
It's getting it's getting very embarrassing for KK because now the latest
Ripper.
thing, yeah, he's claiming like Ripper's like the best singer in the world. I'm like, no, he's not even.
But he was
best.
another guy in Priest, so he's gonna be.
It's a band of guys who are bummed they're not in Priest anymore.
It's the Priest B Squad. I mean, they fucking KK's Priest. They didn't even bother to pretend to be another thing. They're just we're Priest too.
Tim ended up in another Priest tribute band. It just happens to have KK in it because he's also having a rough time. So
I don't have anything real positive to say about it, other than that Tim still sounds like Tim, so he's not. Yeah. He hasn't hurt himself. I like Ripper. He's something.
I mean, he's an okay singer.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Don't sell it too hard.
Dave is still a dick, and apparently, and so's Tim.
Yep. And KK.
What's gonna do?
Like a lot of guys, but
yeah, exactly.
At some point, that's metal. There's a lot of dicks in metal.
All right, I'm turning it off now.